Hello.
Everybody on mute.
Here we go, y'all.
All right.
Let's go.
State prison. This call will be monitored and recorded. For customer assistance, collection, or complaint procedures, or to block future calls, dial 1. Thank you for using.
Hey, bro. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Okay. My name is Umar Khan. East Jersey State Prison. I've been here for the last 30 years. I've been incarcerated for the last 30 years. What I want to talk to y'all about is the underlying issues that I have diabetes, hypertension, and sickle cell anemia. In the past weeks, I've seen brothers that I've been in prison with for the last 30 years die daily. Dottie, Mine, Ezekiel, David Brown, and just as of today, brother named Anthony Brown, all of who had underlying issues similar to my own. We are not getting our medication on time, and at all. Even if we want to write it up to the administration, we're still not getting our medication. They keep telling me on there, your medication will come when we get the time. We had, what did they tell me? Don't worry about your medication is our first priority. I still haven't got it. It's been 2 weeks. It's hard being so in such close quarters with everybody because we had these underlying issues. Coronavirus is like it's going to happen. So I still 30 years to keep myself from the death trap. Let's be clear about that. Not getting out of the situation. So the brother yesterday said his brother died because he wasn't getting his medication. So, and being excluded from all the conversations that if any guys out with medical conditions, but because we have violent crimes, I've done what you asked me. So, I've done my time. I did what you asked me, but now all of a sudden, everything is, I know that being out there close to my family, being out there with my family, to help my condition is better. Staying in here, my people living on top of each other, is not going to make my condition
Hold on 1 second, Umar.
Yeah,
The reason why we have the echo is because we need people to mute themselves. Some people on the call are not muted, and therefore you're not going to be able to hear this as clearly as we needed to. So if you're not right now, the only one should be open is myself and Ron, and everybody else should be muted, and that should take care of the echo so we can get this as clear as possible.
I'm going to mute myself for the moment as well. There's no reason for me not to be muted at this point.
You can also mute everybody else too as the host. You can mute anybody who you see who's not muted.
And Ron, you have to accept the friend request so we can go live from WCMD Media. From Sean. All right, go ahead, Umar. I'm sorry.
In closing, I'd like to speak on this.
Why is that noise? I can't get it.
So now I'm passing over to Brother FK.
Owen, I need to know what your phone number is so I can find you and unmute you. This is not going well, Tone. I need to.
Unmute X and R3.
Yeah, I'm gonna run it down. Anybody that's on my screen will be muted, one by one. But
And
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
All right. This is Sean. You said you need my phone number?
Yeah, I
Not
need the
you.
phone number that they're talking on.
Okay. The number they
Not
gave me
you,
was
Sean.
one.
Not you.
Huh?
Not you. Different Sean. My phone is the XR iPhone.
Man. If everybody would please mute, and then I could just find you, because I'm having a hell of a. All right, let me
Hey, Trump.
back down.
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got to let the people on the phone talk. But in the meantime, I'm trying to find your. I don't know why I can't find it.
Go ahead. All right, let them talk. Go ahead, Kate.
All right. Can you hear me? Can you hear me good now?
Can you hear him?
No.
All right, I just found you, Tone. So I'm going to mute everybody. Then I'll unmute you.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Eddie.
Oh, okay. My name is Edward Cates, and I've been incarcerated for the last 30 years. I have started my parole process, and I'm coming up for parole. And since this coronavirus has started, it has really affected the elderly population. I just turned 60, and it's really affected the elderly population. There's quite a few brothers that's been in here that's my age or older has passed away. My issue is, could this be where they can speed up the parole process, or after you have 6 months or less to do, can it accelerate and let you get released on parole if you have somewhere to go? And if everything worked out with your psych evaluation, your institutional record, and everything is right, I don't see any reason why you couldn't be let out on parole at that particular time. All I have to do is take an executive order, like everything else is happening, executive orders that let us out. And one of the other things is, I was sentenced to a sentence, but I wasn't sentenced to a death sentence. And this is what's going on in here, because a lot of stuff that's going on that they're not doing for us, that you're not getting your medication, you're not getting. We just started getting masks in here just recently. So that's my issue as far as that's concerned. That they can mostly everybody that you're going to talk to either has the VA or AA. They use that and have violent crimes. They use that to lift up the correctional institution and saying these people we are model prisoners. But why we can't use being as model prisoners when it's something for the save our life? That's what I have to say. I hope they take that into consideration. You heard me?
Yes, we heard you.
Okay. So I'm gonna hand it off. I'm gonna hand it off to the next brother. No. This is Wally Abdul Williams. Wally Wise.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
My name is Wally Abdul Williams. Wally Wise. I don't want to really talk about my situation here because it's going to be talked about with all the rest of the men. What I want to talk about is the men who didn't talk today. The men whose names are not going to be mentioned in these press conferences that they're giving all over the news. I want to talk about some of the men, or give you the names of some of the men that died this month here at East Jersey State Prison. David Brown, Abdul Aziz Farrakhan, James Trotman, Tony Cox, in Amadi Madu Azikiwe. And we just received another name last night. Anthony Brown has passed away. All of these men names are not going to be mentioned in any of these press conferences. We don't get updates as to their death. We get a travel log that says they've been released because they're deceased. They remain numbers. Nobody talks about these men. And these men were sons, they were fathers, they were brothers. You know, they were people of worth. And the numbers and the names every day continue to haunt us. It's psychologically unsafe to be in a situation where you're waiting to see who's going to die today. What's the next name that's going to end up on the travel log? My dude was waiting to get out of prison. He was going to get out next year after doing 38 years, and he expired in here as a result of this COVID virus. Tony Cox was scheduled to be released in 2 weeks, and he died. Farrakhan had 1 more year after doing 30 years, and this man expired in here. These men have underlying issues. They're 60 and older. They're 55 and older. Even the young guy, man, he was in his 20s, and he expired in here. I want to talk about these men. They want to make us numbers. These men had families. They had wives. They had girlfriends. They had mothers. You know, and they want to be seen as human beings. We don't want to just be numbers. We've been numbers here long enough. We want to be recognized as human beings and treated as such. And hopefully, these names will continue to be echoed out there. One last time before I go, I'm going to read these names off. David Brown, Abdulaziz Farrakhan, James Trotman, Anthony Brown, Tony Cox, and Imadi Madu Ezekiwe. Assalamu alaikum, and I hope y'all able to help us, and I hope y'all hear us.
Brother Wale.
Yes.
Where are you from?
I'm from East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
I've been locked up 30 years. I'm past 30 years at this point. I'm 54 years of age. I'm in college. Aspiring to get my associate's degree. I've completed over 30-something programs. The punitive aspect of my sentence has been served. My mother is 70-something years old. I would like to get out of prison and spend some time with my wife, my mother, my daughter, and my family. And spend some quality time with people I love and let us appreciate each other and not die here because they are failing to do the things necessary to protect us. They're not cleaning in here. They're not. There's no sanitation going on. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed. You have a few more men that want to talk, and they have a variety of issues that affect us all. And I don't want to use up all the time. I want to let them talk, but I appreciate y'all hearing us. Assalamu alaikum. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hello.
Hello. Who's speaking, and where are you from? And let us know where you're from when you in the community.
Hang up. Want me to call you back?
If it hang up, just call right back.
Okay. My name is Russell Owens. I'm from East Jersey State Prison.
Where are you from in the community, Brother Russ?
I'm from Burlington County.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Okay. So hold off on that. Just call right back.
Okay.
Hello?
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged.
And this is what you hear every time we have to call our loved ones.
An inmate at East Jersey State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded for customer assistance collection. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Owens.
An inmate at East Jersey State Prison. This call will be monitored.
Hey, bro.
What's up, Tom?
Go ahead.
As I said, my name is Russell Owens from East Jersey State Prison. I'm from Burlington County. I just turned 19 when I was incarcerated. I've been in prison since 1989, and I was given 30 years to life. I completed my sentence less than a year ago. In 30 years, I only had 3 charges, 3 nonviolent infractions. I've never been to the home, and I've never been to ad sitting. My institutional reports were favorable across the board. I saw the parole board, and in less than 15 minutes, they decided to extend my sentence 36 months. Their reason was I was almost ready. I needed to take more programs. I have taken nearly every program in DOC, some multiple times. I have 3 associate's degrees, 2 bachelor's degrees, 1 master's degree, 1 doctorate degree, and currently I'm working on a 2nd doctorate degree in divinity. Aside from foregoing the multiple opportunities upon release, I'm talking about school and work. The parole board was aware that my parents are seniors and disabled, are at home all by themselves, and they are home right now. And I wish I were there to help them. Instead, I'm here trying to survive COVID-19 behind bars. Many are sick, and some have already died here. And I know they died alone and confused. There is no true social distancing in here. There is no movement. There is no rehabilitation. There is no support from social services or the psych department. It's just us, COVID-19, and the will to survive amid the fluctuation between depression and despair in this place. The parole board is aware that my parents are disabled and are seniors. And I would say this to the world right now. At what point somebody in their youth make a mistake, become irredeemable? Right now, it's just us in here and COVID-19. The men are scared. The men are frightened. Thank you.
Thank you for that testimony.
Who's next?
Jackman. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marsh Jackman. I'm incarcerated here at East Jersey State Prison. Early this week, I was almost brought to tears when Governor Murphy stated, "We are one New Jersey family" during New Jersey's COVID-19 response update. Then I thought maybe the governor just isn't informed about the situation inside New Jersey's prisons. So it is our hope that we are being heard as members of this one New Jersey family, and that our concerns and those of our families are being taken seriously. I would like to speak to you about the need for testing inside New Jersey's prison settings if we wish to slow the rate of infection. Inside here, there's a popular sentiment that we have. It's not a question of if we get COVID, but when. And what follows this morbid psychological reasoning is that those who survive, and those who don't, just don't. Now, I'll be the first to admit and acknowledge the structural barriers that hinder social distancing within prison settings. Now, because we can't social distance, and social distancing is actually an exercise of futility inside here, testing is critically important. So, in one instance, to highlight this, in late March, we had a correctional officer tested positive for COVID-19. And that correctional officer was the detail supervisor of a maintenance crew of about 6 inmates. So 2 of those inmates were housed in single cell areas, were separated by about a 1/4-inch steel wall, and another wall that's at the cell's entrance is just bars. So, and one of those on that detail was housed in a dormitory setting where I am. So, and it's 80 of us in the dormitory. Now, and the remaining 3 were in double lock housing situations. So, and I say that to say that to show how it's almost impossible for us to social distance in here. And what happened was 8 days after the correctional officer tested positive for COVID, the six-man inmate work detail was isolated for 14 days. Now, during that period, on the 6th day, 15 inmates were brought behind the wall from Rawway Camp. Now, a note so that you understand Rawway Camp's living situation. It consists of 3 trailers. So you have 8 beds, 8 double bunk beds, which amounts to 16 people per trailer. So one of the guys collapsed and had to be hospitalized. So when he got hospitalized, he tested positive for coronavirus. So they took the other 15 guys that were housed in the trailer with him and brought him behind the wall and put them in 14-day isolation that already contained the 6 other guys from the repair detail. So now the problem is that because we aren't being tested and we have contact with corrections officers and civilian staff on a daily basis, that all we're doing is really just moving bodies around within the facility. And you're further exposing those that may not have come in contact with people that could possibly have COVID. So now, the work detail, if they're asymptomatic, so now they're not showing any signs of any flu-like symptoms. So now they dispersed them back into,
34%.
reintegrated them back into the general population. So what I want you to know is that of the 8 deaths that we've had here at East Jersey State Prison, 5 of those guys were kitchen workers. Kitchen workers have constant contact with civilian staff and correctional officers. So 6 of those were in housing situations where they were double locked or a dormitory where they couldn't social distance.
One second, Black Thought.
We're asking.
Thought. Go ahead, Thought.
Okay, so now, in the dormitory setting alone, you have 31%, that's about 25 out of the 80 guys, are kitchen workers in the dorm. You have 40% of the guys are in work capacities where they have constant contact with civilian staff. And then you have about 15 guys, which is about 19% or so, that don't have contact with civilian staff, but by virtue of being in a dorm, now they're exposed to the people who have contact with civilian staff and kitchen workers. So now, if kitchen workers are considered essential workers, so now these guys are forced to go out to work, whether they feel bad or not. So now you expose the inmate population to coronavirus unnecessarily when you do this. And the only way that people get tested is when they deteriorate to the point where they have to be hospitalized. Then it's confirmed that they have coronavirus. So now you have a period of 3 to maybe 4 weeks where they have received no treatment. Absolutely no treatment. And the possibility of positive rehabilitation and recuperation is now reduced. So what we're asking is that, you extend testing to this portion of this vulnerable one New Jersey family. So that's all we're asking. Thank you.
Hey, Thought.
How you doing, everybody? This is Daniel Venable here at East Jersey State Prison, juvenile lifer. I presently have 34 years in on a 35 years of life sentence, and I've just been informed that I'm the last speaker representative that you all were here this evening. And so I guess tasked with wrapping it up.
Sure.
And so
where you from?
Excuse me?
Where you from? Ibrahim?
Okay, where I'm from?
Yes.
County-wise, I'm from Essex County, New Jersey.
Go ahead.
So you just go ahead. So anybody have any questions, or you want me to?
Nah, do your thing.
Okay, so yeah, I've been tasked with kind of like wrapping everything up. So you heard very different profiles from guys that's over 60, like Gates, in the 40 range, like Umar, who happens to be suffering from his own medical issues. Russ dealing with parole hit, and myself being a juvenile offender who has not been able to reap some of the benefits of the new constitutional protection. So we all weren't given death sentences, but in light of the COVID-19 response and in light of the COVID-19 crisis and the lack of response or slow response by the Department of Corrections, we here kind of feel like every day could be our ticket to punch in, we being subjected to a prison sentence is the equivalent of a social death, but this COVID-19, the reality is that the social death can actually transform into an actual death, and the psychological impact that this is having on everybody in this prison, much like, the anxiety that people out in the world are experiencing is at an all-time high, and, it's hard to describe. So, we all pretty much feel like, we have to use this time, this crisis, like other times in history where, good things came from it, with the depression, the New Deal came out, all types of social safety nets came in, you know what I'm saying? After World War II, GI Bill. So my thing is that a lot of us feel like this is time to, we have to take back the whole criminal justice narrative, because we feel like, the powers that be have kind of cold.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Criminal justice reform does not include violent offenders, and as Thought just said, violent offenders comprise of 63% of your jail. So how can you truly talk about criminal justice reform if you just want to exclude 60% of your population based on offense? Some of them committed, in their teens, in their 20s, 25, 30 years later, who have demonstrated, like the judge told me at a hearing 2 years ago, there's no doubt.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
I believe that you are mature and rehabilitated, which is the standard which juveniles should be released, but yet I'm still here waiting for my parole opportunity. I will try to call back. If not,
call
I appreciate the opportunity.
Call back.
All right. I'll call back. Call back.
As you guys can hear, this is not speculation. This is from directly inside East Jersey State Prison, as this is occurring in real time. This is not this is designed to raise awareness. This is not numbers and figures on a website. We're going to hear from them, and then we're going to allow for their family members to have an opportunity to speak in concern with them for those that have joined the meeting. And that's why, like you said, we're one New Jersey family, but we don't feel like it. It's easy to say in words, but it's hard to actualize that when the least of us are left to languish and die without any aid, without any consideration. And all we're holding on to is this so-called rule of law, which is coded for something greater. They're calling back in, but I want you guys to really listen to this message.
You will not be charged for this call. This call is from Thomas Dollar, an inmate at East Jersey State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded. For customer assistance, collection, or complete procedures, or to block future calls, dial 1-866-230-6. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
So, we in our daily discussions and just chopping it up, we sit here and we watch the news. We hear, various different, concepts of what criminal justice reform is and should look like. But I got to tell y'all, we here, we believe that, we as a people, as a movement, as advocates of social justice and true criminal justice reform, we need to let them have that. Let's not talk about criminal justice reform. We have to name something out on our own. We have to come up with something else. And I'm throwing my term into the hat. We're gonna call it criminal justice transformation. And I'm open for discussion. I'm open for change. I'm open for alterations. But the fact of the matter is that as I said earlier, you can't talk about reform something if you're not going to include almost 2/3 of the defender class. So now let me go back to the reality that we here are experiencing, during this crisis in a condition of, social death, where we're legally outside the law, but we've been legally determined by the law to be outside the law. So we really have no protections, and they took all the kitchen work. This is what's mind-boggling to me. Most of the people that died from the COVID crisis here in Jersey, here in East Jersey State Prison, the inmates worked in the kitchen around out of food, but yet they took the kitchen workers that deals with the officers and staff, and put them on an isolated unit. So if you want to work around the officers and staff food, they took you out and put you on a isolated unit. It's just y'all, nobody else that works in there. From what I'm hearing, daily medical checks. Don't need a pass. You go to the med. You can just walk down there. And so that disparity, that disregard of the other, thousands of people in this population it's just mind-boggling. And there's nothing we can do about it, because it actually doesn't exist. It's not happening because we said, just because we made the claim that it just happened, it's not happening. A prisoner is wrong even when he's right. And so this is the condition that we're living under during this crisis, and how we are essentially voiceless. So we really are dependent on public, you all, to be our mouthpiece, and so we really appreciate y'all want you to hear voices from the inside, because you can say you want to advocate for criminal justice reform, you want to advocate for the voiceless inside prisons, but if you're not allowing yourself to hear what the people that are being directly affected on the ground level, then ask yourself, what are you really doing and what are you really fighting for? Are you in it for a paycheck? Or are you in it for the ego? What are you really in it for if you're not putting your ears to the ground level, the epicenter of social injustice, dehumanization, human disregard, and so forth on. So with that being said, if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer. If not, I'll pass the phone over to one of my brethren. None? No questions?
No.
Gotcha.
How do you feel about how they're currently handling the coronavirus in New Jersey's prison system?
It shows, it highlights, number one, just because people in power do not make them well informed or smarter than the average guy. They are totally reactionary. And it's a lot like what's going on out there in the world with y'all. It's just, where that, they're pretty much 2 weeks behind. I watching news, I've heard that, seen that, a lot of criticism going on with governmental response to different agencies, responding, 2 weeks, they're kind of like 2 weeks behind the data, or just 2 weeks behind the virus in a sense. And so you need to magnify that by at least 6 times. Or you can just magnify by a factor of 2. And so these people, like I say, we just got masks. Literally, we just got masks. I think beginning of last week, we just got masks. And I think maybe a few days before that, they just started coming around asking people, how you feeling? And that's only restricted to the kitchen workers. So me being someone who's just relegated to a housing unit, who can't go to work, who can't go to the yard for an hour each day and socialize and fraternize with 50 other people, I don't get medical checks. I don't get an inquiry from any medical staff saying, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? You all right? Fever? Nothing. Haven't been checked out. Haven't even been asked MRI." And so that's the bulk of inmate population is not checking on this. It's a total reactionary or curative response. When you get sick and fall out, or when you get ill to the point of passing out, falling out, stuff like that, then they respond. And so it's a nightmare. It's nightmarish reality, to be honest with you. Never seen anything like it.
Well, what are you guys in there doing? Go ahead.
Sharuk, I have a question for you. This is Ron Pierce, Rebel. Are they giving you any?
Okay.
Are they giving you any cleaning supplies extra to make sure your areas and your communal showers and all that are clean, so that you're not necessarily trying to infect yourself or each other, rather?
Okay. So, interestingly enough, as you know, most of some of you that are listening have been previously incarcerated. The state gives you four rolls of toilet paper and 3 bars of soap every month. And so supplies came for us. Our monthly supplies came, I think, maybe 4 or 5 days. Today, for the first time, they just gave everyone an extra bar of soap. So that made a total of 4 bars of soap for the month. Right now, I can't speak for the whole jail, but on my particular unit and my particular wing, yeah, bleach. I have to commend them on that. In terms of supplying bleach, supplying disinfectant towels and stuff like that, and credit to a lot of. So if you want me to grade, give them a grading in terms of like supplying, cleaning supplies. Like I said, I can only speak for my unit, and I will have to give them a B plus on that, because my active bleach.
I only ask, Sharuk, because I'm hearing from other prisons that they're not doing that, especially in Trenton. They haven't given any cleanup supplies extra for people. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, no, we've actually heard that too. And as I said, I can't speak for the whole jail here. So now let me emphasize that I'm not giving the whole East Jersey State Prison a grade of a B plus in that regard. Let me just say that. I can only speak for my particular unit. And I'm in the dorm setting, and we got time in that we're ingenious. We know how to get stuff that we need. We're resourceful. We know how to get stuff that we need. So yeah, in that regard, I'm sorry that I can't provide enough information as to is the whole jail in essence being given adequate cleaning supplies. I can't answer that. Sorry.
So let me ask you a question, Sharuka. What are you guys doing collectively to keep yourselves free from corona as much as you possibly can? What do you guys, what would you tell somebody out here about what y'all doing in there to protect yourselves?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna share with you with what I share with my family and loved ones, because they're concerned, So out of trying to militate or lessen their concerns about me, I tell them, and this is what I do. I'm usually in my area for the bulk of the day. It's 24 hours in a day. I'm in my area for the bulk about minus sleep time. I'm in my area about 16. So I'm saying about 12 hours a day. Reading, working out, cleaning up, So the bulk of our day is spent cleaning up our areas, just cleaning up, and just spending a lot of alone time. Like I've been in solitary. I did 6 years in solitary confinement, so this is nothing for me. This I'm just kind of like going back to the past for me. I'm reading. I'm back on my discipline stance. I'm working out every day. So that's basically my daily regimen. Staying to myself, knocking books off, trying to not be as sociable, and even if I am sociable, because we're all social animals, I wear my mask. And I try to adhere to the whole social distancing and for the better part, social isolation as much as I can on a daily basis. So yeah, and that's what most of us do, and the fact that we all kind of like hang out with each other based on time. So most of the guys I hang out with, have near 30 years now. So we haven't been through anything like this, but we have been through lockdown situations. We have been through some of the toughest situations that there is in prison. So we adapt. We use our brains. We use our collective sense to protect each other. And stuff like that. Yeah. So we help each other out.
How does food go? Gail, you got something you want to ask?
Here's Rusty right here.
All right, go ahead.
They looking at me like I'm hogging up all the time. So here's Rusty. I love y'all guys.
Love you too, brother.
Hey, Tone.
Yes.
Hey, man, we appreciate y'all hearing us tonight, man.
Man, listen, that's the only thing. I couldn't sleep, man. I really couldn't sleep. It was bothering me. And I needed the world or anybody in this world to hear directly from you guys. And I promised you guys, if they let me out, that this is what I would do.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Hey, listen, man. Y'all keep talking, man. We appreciate y'all. You need somebody to call you back, or you good?
I'm saying it's up to y'all,
if you can call back, dude. But we're gonna, once you call back, we're gonna let some people ask you some questions. But we would love for you all to call back.
Okay, I'll call back. Yeah, I'll call back right now.
All right, so we're gonna start letting guys answer you. We're gonna open up the floor to anybody with any questions. It's going to take a second.
Yeah.
But this is a interesting time. How the very thing that is used to limit your communication with your family has now been turned into a tool of liberation. I want you to understand. Like, I used to tell people that we could do this while I was inside, and they was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you can get if you really want the voices, you can get them. Right? There's nothing preventing you from getting these voices and getting this directly from the source. But now we're going to make sure that this continues.
One last thing, they are going to test everybody in the prison, and it's going to start late next week. So it's still going to be a long while, but they are going to do it.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
Hey, Tom, y'all got some questions?
Yes. Go ahead, Ron.
Yes. First, I would like to thank everybody for being here. Ron, Tone, Sister Muhammad, Marion. Many of us have actually been incarcerated. But what I would like to know is how are you receiving information? One, and is it good information? And two, how is the morale of you guys in there? And how y'all doing? All right. Bump is home. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, it was kind of breaking up. Could you repeat what he said, Tom?
He was saying, how is you guys' morale? And what was else? There's so much stuff he asked. And I just caught a brain fart. Go ahead.
How is the morale and how are y'all receiving information? And is it good information concerning Corona and how it's affecting you and how to safeguard yourselves against it?
Did you hear Russ?
Nah, it was kind of breaking up a little bit.
All right.
How are we getting information?
Yeah, how you guys are getting information?
How
And
reliable is it?
And is it reliable? Is it
You know,
and
the
your
rumor mill.
morale?
Oh yeah, the morale.
Let me speak to the morale part. As I said earlier, the men are fluctuating between depression and despair. Because you got to understand that without warning, you know what I'm saying, if somebody gets sick, they'll snatch you and they'll isolate you. And now we got a window and we can look out the window and never before have we seen an ambulance come on the premises of the prison, come inside the prison to pick people up. So we can look out the window and see them putting people into the ambulance. Now some of these guys that they're putting into the ambulance, these are our friends, these are guys that we know. And then to hear word that they passed away, that they died. So I would say that the morale in this place is real low. Because these times are uncertain. You know, you don't know if you're going to get the proper care. Again, there's guys that are around here. You don't know who's positive, who's asymptomatic. You know, the information that's coming in, they're giving us information on the J test, right? But again, it's not. The information is don't worry. Let me help you how to deal with your anxiety. Information like that. We'll give you a free phone call here, a free phone call there. They keep letting us know that the psych department services are canceled. You know what I'm saying? But right now, there's no movement, there's no rehabilitation. We have no contact with social services, no contact with the sites. We're pretty much on our own in this place right now.
Thank you.
Next question. The governor got his hand up, Brian McGreevy.
Ron, am I good?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I was just curious as to, Ron, thank you. Ron had mentioned about the testing. Did you receive any information as to when actually testing would start, when it would be completed, and whether or not you would be tested as to the virus, or also whether or not you'd be tested to the antibodies, and if you knew what kind of test it was, whether it was the swab, the blood test, or any information?
No, we haven't heard. You know, there's been a rumor all day that something that the governor Murphy said on TV today about everybody in prison is going to get tested, but we haven't heard anything. We haven't gotten tested. As a matter of fact, some of the guys that had gone out on medical trips had gone to the hospital and caught COVID-19, and then they brought them back here. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like you got to be sick and go to the hospital to be tested. So, but as of now, there's no testing in here. Of course, you know that they take the temperatures of the officers. You know, they take the temperatures if you're not feeling well. But if you don't have no temperature, they're sending you back. So that's the only thing. And they're giving you, and if you ain't feeling it, they give you some Mucinex.
So Mucinex replaced it Motrin? Go ahead.
Now, Tone, you know Uni, right?
Yes.
He was in the bed for a whole week. He couldn't even get out the bed before they came and took him to the hospital. He's been in the hospital ever since. He spent like a week in the hospital, and now he's downstairs in quarantine in isolation with COVID-19. So he was laying in bed for like a week
before they took him to the hospital.
Because he had to go and say, "Look, I can't be up here no more."
So
you know what I'm saying? And he had already went down to the hospital like twice complaining.
So if you guys don't self-report, they don't do anything.
No, they don't. And then if you do self-report, they're still sending you, and they'll still send you back.
So if you ain't dying or damn near dead, there's nothing they're gonna do for you.
Exactly. Hey, Tone, look, I'm gonna put Morris back on the phone.
Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
he wants to answer some questions.
All right.
Peace, bro.
Peace. Where you from, man?
Camden.
Okay.
East Camden.
Okay. All right. Anybody got any questions for Mr. Jackman? So
No.
I can't see. I can't.
Black Thought. It's good to hear your voice, bro. I love y'all. I wanted to know if y'all, are able to get the wing reps and able to actually put certain things together to at least get your temperature checked in the morning and in the evening, if that's even possible, and if you need assistance in getting us to get in touch with the administration.
Yes.
Make sure that there's temperature checks.
Okay, here's the situation that we just experienced with our wing rep. So, our wing rep had been getting into daily confrontations with administrators. And I mean administrators as far as sergeants and lieutenants.
Marianne, mute your phone, please. Sorry about that, Thought.
All right, so he was going through those things about a week, every day for about a week. So it got to the point where they started calling him down to the point where one day they didn't feed us at all. So he complained, got into a verbal altercation with the sergeant, and the next day they came up here and told him to pack up because he had been exposed to someone that tested positive for COVID. So they moved him down to 14-day isolation down on 7-1. He's been down there ever since. So once that happened, no other wing rep had the balls or the audacity to even approach a supervisor or administrator about anything. So right now, he has been on some punitive stuff. He's down in isolation right now.
Because he was speaking up against what you guys needed.
Huh?
Because he was speaking in your interest and what you guys needed and trying to get information. So they use the isolation as a punitive thing, not because he tested positive.
Right, and now they put his life at risk because, like I said, they brought 15 guys from the camp. Who one guy collapsed and had to be hospitalized, tested positive. So those 15 guys that were around this guy in the camp is now down there with him. So it is impossible for him to have been exposed to someone that tested positive when he was He doesn't have a job. He's here all day, every day on this unit. So who is it that he came in contact with that none of the rest of us came in contact with? That was a completely punitive measure.
No,
and we haven't seen him since.
Okay.
And now that man is down there in isolation with his life at risk because they got other people that they knowingly have been exposed to someone with COVID.
That's right. Okay, Jasmine Ing, you had your hand up. I unmuted you, so go ahead and ask your question.
Jasmine?
Yes.
No, not you, Black.
Jasmine Ing.
Oh.
You had your hand raised, so I unmuted you for you to ask your question. I don't know whether or not you're not speaking, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to move on. Ibrahim, I'm going to unmute you. Come on, you won't unmute. Ibrahim, did you unmute? There you are.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's Ibrahim Suleimani. I just want to add context to something Black Thought said, and this is how they usually handle the wing reps. This is how they usually handle the wing reps when they represent the prisoners. They isolate them, saying that there's some type of security risk, that they were threatened or something like that. That's why I want to add that context to that, and also ask Black Thought: does he have a report about, I believe, 8 people dying last night?
Well, it was, as of yesterday, it was, 2 days ago, it was 8 here in Broadway, but we had another death just last night. Theo, my man Theo, he passed last night. So, I mean, the whole situation is just permeated with so much psychic violence. And you know, so when he dies, you know, because it happened on third shift, what they do, they put the man's body in a body bag, drags his body to the back stairwell, and leaves his body there in front of one of the guys' cells. So this guy stayed up all night.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
He has a guy's body literally laying in front of his cell all night long until the coroner came and got him this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a powerful image, I got to tell you. Okay.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Are there any other questions that are going to be asked? And are they going to call back?
Are you calling back, Thought?
Can you call back? Yeah, we call him back.
Okay.
Charged for this call. This call is from
Russell Owens,
an inmate at East Jersey State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded for customer assistance. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Peace, it's me, Tom.
Wise got a question for you, Thought.
Who?
Wise.
That's not Thought. That's
all right.
That's Russ, ain't it?
No, that's Thought on Russ call.
Oh yeah. Well, what I wanted to know is, like the brother. Well, the first thing I wanted to say was that we're here for y'all now. You know, so whatever we need to do to make sure y'all message is reached, you know, out here to the public, that will happen. You know, and like I told Tone, you know, whatever he need me to do, I will do. You know, I can only speak for me as myself. You know, but we're definitely here for y'all, Thought. You know, and I also want to say, you know, that I love you.
We appreciate.
Hold on.
That I love you, brothers. that I didn't forget about you, even though that, me, you, and Tone got a private beef. But but like I just got out the hospital. Thought I just got out the hospital because I contracted it, from my job. Thought I lost about 55 pounds. That's why Tone think he can beat me now. But yeah, we definitely here for y'all. I ain't never, y'all know all that I've been through, all the times I've been shot and all that. I ain't never felt like that. Never. I mean, never. Shortness of breath. I lost my appetite for like 7 days. That's something I've never experienced. And all the things that we went through throughout our years, I've never been the scared one. It scared me. That's the first time in a long time that I literally can say I was scared, that I could see the worry in my wife's eyes, But that's something that this is not a game. This is not a joke, And I remember Tone dropped me off at work one night when this first started. And I'm like, man, if I can get through almost 20 years of prison, I can get through this. Until it reached me. Never been scared of anything like this in my life. So
it went off.
Whatever,
It went off. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever y'all need us to do out here, we're definitely going to put forth the effort and make it get done.
All right. That's peace.
All right.
Hey, yo,
Robert, you had something you wanted?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Thought.
I want to tell you, yo, I'm glad that you recovered, and I want to tell you, bro, my little 187-pound frame can't take no battle with Corona right now. Like, I just can't do it. So, not to the best of my ability, like, I'm trying to manage who I contact, who I come in contact with, who I interact with. I don't want nobody around me that's not wearing a mask. But even in taking those limited measures that I can do, like guys they healthy. Guys is healthy and they've been tracking it and it's putting them down. It's putting them down. Ezekiel, this dude work out all day, every single day. And we stood at the window and watched when he came out of the back and they put him in the ambulance. 3 days later, he was gone. He was gone.
They got a question for you, Doc.
Margaret has a question for you, Doc.
Margaret has a question.
Hey, brother. I can't stay. My little one is screaming in the background, and I don't want everybody to have to hear that either. I have to go. It is so good to hear your voices. If you could only see the community of people who are all here listening to you, taking notes, loving you. And here's what I want to say. Like this is my organizer hat on. We can organize around these things. So help us, guide us. If you can narrow it down to like 3 things. What are the 3 things that you need us to address with the powers that be, the other powers that be, because you all have the power, you know this. What else? Like, okay, so I heard testing for sure. People need real tests, and tell us what else we can be advocating for with you, with these intense and incredible stories that you're sharing, and we appreciate. As always, your courage and conviction to share it with us and to trust us to do what we need to do. So I have to go really soon, but I'm interested if you all can, name the top 3 things that we need to be fighting for with you. Please do. Bless you. Love you. See you all soon.
Oh, man, we love you too. Hey, yo,
what's the 3 things, Doc?
My thing is to testing. I just wrote down what Margaret said for us, and maybe he could come up with two others. But my main focus is the thing with the testing.
Okay.
And if they are going to provide things for us to disinfect like these areas, so they have a COVID cleaning crew that they call. So, but what these guys do is they go around to everywhere where the officers are, and then they just bleach those doorknobs and walls and stuff like that. So there's no provision of disinfectant agents for us for where the inmate population congregates.
Okay.
So, and then, you take into consideration that, these people, they go in and out of the facility every day. And then they come in, and then they'll search your area, right? So now the only thing they do is get a temperature check at the door. If they don't have a temperature, they come to work. But now, if this is an asymptomatic person, he just brought the coronavirus inside the facility. And now he's searching an area, searching a guy's cell. Well, if it's a double lock, he's searching two people's cells, and now potentially exposing them to the virus that he just brought in. So, and like I said, I will be the first to admit the structural barriers to testing and doing things inside of these carceral spaces. But we are not doing the things that we can do to even alleviate the health risk. We're not doing them.
So what would be the third thing?
Do you have a third thing? Y'all, I'm asking Russ and Sharuka if they could come up with a third thing. So hold on, here go Russ. Oh, here goes Sharuka. So they want the third thing. They want that we can help them mobilize right now. Help us.
So we got universal testing, cleaning the areas inside the prison, and now what's the third? What would be the third thing that we could push for you guys?
Yeah, Russ suggested that start releasing guys, man. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's like this. They structurally, they already admit that structurally, prison setting, it can't adhere to social distancing. And right now, that's the most effective measure against the spread of, coronavirus. But yet, they're packing us in here. When most prisons are overcrowded. Even as states say they reduce their population, stuff like that. So structurally, we're in a situation where we can't practice social distancing. So the only other recourse would be you have to start releasing those eligible prisoners. And I mean, what else can be said after that? I mean, low risk. Not just non-violent offenders, just violent offenders can be, has been statistically factually proven to be low risk for recidivism after accumulating a certain amount of time and after being a certain amount of age, no matter what crime they've been arrested for. So what's the problem? Look at me, 34 years in, I'm 51, I've been locked up since I was 16. Everything went above and beyond acquiring rehabilitative accomplishments. There's nothing else left for me to accomplish except for me to get my master's degree or my PhD. I mean, what else you want me to do? Us is in the same situation. Thought it's the same situation. I can just go on and on about guys who are in that less than 3% to recidivate.
1 second, hold on, Sharuk. Go ahead, Sal.
No, actually, Dr. Joseph T. Robinson had a question for him.
Go ahead, Shabu. Dr. Robinson has a question for you.
Dr. Robinson, go ahead.
Well, the question was not good.
Hey, Tone, I can hear you very clearly, Tone, so you might have to translate it for me. It's very hard to...
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Robinson. We'll translate it if he can't hear you.
Okay, well, the question was really for the group in terms of being able to, I know yesterday's call, we were joined by a lot of legal specialists, a lot of attorneys. And so in cases of abuse and neglect on the administration, can we look at, and then for those gentlemen that they call their names of that has departed from here, is there a way to file a class act lawsuit for negligence for the loved ones of those who are still left here? Those brothers have transitioned because of the carelessness of the administration. So that question was not for the King man, but it was for the Bible.
They're paralegals too. So you actually
okay. Okay. Well,
there are some legal minds in there.
Okay, so let's develop some type of lawsuit against the administration for their negligence and their abuse.
Did you hear that, Roop?
It kept breaking up, so you summarize it from that.
All right. Is it possible to create a class action lawsuit for the negligence of those men that passed and that we spoke their names?
Yes, but at this particular time, it would be very hard in here with one, because everything is locked down. Like, we literally have, no legal access. General population has no legal access. Everything is locked down. If you're a kitchen worker, you can move, you can go to work. And if you're designated as an essential worker, you can move and go to work. But right now, only essential workers are only people that's, repair guys, laundry workers. So law library is not an essential, activity or resource right now. So it would really be impossible to even, start the class action, from a litigation standpoint, but also in terms of getting those names, collaborating with other people on different parts of the jail, to get their input on various treatment, response, abuses of power, stuff like that, contacts with the administration, to get their certifications.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
So yes, litigation is definitely possible, and trust me, after most of this is all said and done, after it releases a little bit, yes, lawsuits are definitely going to be filed. There's no question about that. The abuses that's been taking place in here is just abhorrent, unconstitutional, dehumanizing, it's animalistic, it's all of that. So lawsuits,
you have 30 seconds remaining.
Would definitely are definitely in the foreseeable future, but as it stands now, structurally, logistically, and functionally, it just can't happen because it's on lockdown.
Okay. We're getting one more call.
Are y'all doing one more call?
You said one more call?
Yes.
One more call? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we come back, Ms. Hunter Williams wanted to ask a question. So as soon as we come back, Ms. Williams, it'd be your turn for a call, okay? I know you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, it's not really to them, but it's just to the group. Like, the prison system has totally failed us.
Yeah.
Totally. I know, aren't there standing operating procedures when things like this happen? If there's a fire, they have a standing operating procedure. If there's a fight, they have standing operating procedures. My husband, on April 6th, was told, pack up, you're moving. What? Pack up, the whole wing is moving. Because we're going to bring infected people into this wing and move you guys somewhere else. it was like they just cross contaminated in Rawway Prison.
Yes, they did.
Contaminated, and when I used to go on visits, I used to always say, "What are these buildings out here? 5 wing. You know what are they here for? Why isn't anybody in there?" And he would say, "Oh, you know, therefore, if you know they have to bring other prisoners from somewhere if something happens, they should have brought those infected people to 5 wing where they were isolated." But the nurses, I hear, didn't want to have to walk that far to that building.
Exactly.
I mean, I know they're prisoners, but like, when are they going to be put first? You understand? Nurses don't want to walk that far. That, you know, so all of this is happening at Rawway. They have done it. I mean, excuse me, East Jersey State Prison. They have put this upon themselves, and a lot of other prisons. Nobody is operating it, and you know, like they should with these standing operating procedures. And can we ask? Can we see them? What are they? You know. So I mean, here at East Jersey, when they did that move on April 6th, they did this to themselves. And my husband, back in January, the end of January, was in the bed, couldn't get up. He couldn't even barely walk to the phone. He had a fever. He had chills. This was January, before we even got this. And a few other guys, his roommate went through it. So this was there, you know, but.
An inmate at State Prison. This call will be monitored and recorded.
Thank you.
Thank you for using Global Link.
Oh, just Wally Wise just got back from work.
Okay.
Still on?
Yes, Wale. We still on.
I'm just all right, so is there any questions? Are there any questions?
Yeah. Hold on. Blake Nelson has a question. He was, I just can't seem to unmute. Are you Blake Nelson works for the Star Ledger, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if you could share the name of the man who died and whose body was left by the stairwell, because I think that's a pretty important thing to report on.
One of the guys who passed away yesterday, that may be the individual you're talking about, a Jamaican guy named Tigo Antonio Brown, said he died in his cell last night, and I think they found him on the following shift. I believe that's Anthony Brown. That's the name of that individual's name.
Tigo?
From what I heard, Tigo, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Tigo died last night. Yes, yeah, he passed last night. He just got the information a little while ago. We're being told that on the website they're saying there's 30 deaths within the New Jersey prison system, and if that's so, you know, that rounds out to 30 bodies or 30 deaths within a 30-day period. Actually, less than a 30-day period. At this rate, I don't know how we're going to survive it. This is going to be accustomed to the same thing as the nursing home situation, where bodies just going to be piling up because we're confined. We can't social distance. It's impossible to social distance within the prison system. So they also have what they call the COVID cleaning crew. They have a crew of 5 guys who are not even getting paid and not wearing no protective gear to clean up. They're getting an extra hamburger or an extra piece of chicken to clean up. And the cleaning that they're doing is only in the areas where the staff and the correctional officers congregate and assemble at. They're not cleaning up on the units. There's no protocol on the unit for cleaning. I've been on this unit up here over 2 weeks, and I've yet to see a mop come down the general floor area. They ran out of hand sanitizer. Yes, they gave us masks, twice already issued masks, which we appreciate, but there needs to be a cleaning protocol. There needs to be a scrubbing down and sanitizing of all the hard area surfaces within the prison, and that's not taking place. And these bodies were not being updated. We get a travel log that says release deceased. That's it. If you know to look on the travel log, you know where to look. But other than that, we're not being updated. We're given JPEG updates to say stay mentally tough. It's Ramadan. We just started getting the food together. 7 days into Ramadan, we just started getting the food that we're supposed to get. There are no religious services. There are no mental health services. Guys in here, these are, in the times like this is when they need to fall on their faith, and this is when they need mental health experts to talk to. It's not here. We're on the wings all day unless you have an essential job within the prison. And I just returned from my essential job cleaning up in the mess hall. But for the most part, guys are not going anywhere. They're congregating on the wings all day. There's no social distancing being placed. The guys who are on 4 wings were just quarantined for 2 weeks, and they horizontally and vertically stacked on top of each other over there. The same thing with 3 wing, where these guys are forced to double lock. And that's another issue. The state had been issued an order to single lock all prisons in New Jersey. And this order has been in place for a number of years, but every year what New Jersey does is pay the fine. Had they adhered to the court order and single lock the prison, that would allow social distancing for the whole prison because everybody would be in single lock cells. But since they rather pay the fine as opposed to adhering to the order, the court order, guys are forced to lock the guys they barely know in some cases all day. I feel for the guys who are in cells with guys who they don't get along with. So any more questions?
Yeah, Lori has a question, but I just want you to, can you tell us what part of the state you're originally from?
I'm from North Jersey. I'm from Essex County, East Orange, Newark area.
Okay, thank you. Lori, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes.
You're not muted, but you don't have a voice on you.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much for this platform. I really appreciate it. And everyone who's in attendance. I had a question for Black Thought. I don't know if he's on the line or not, but listening to something that Sister Gail Muhammad had brought about, how she founded her organization with her husband passing in prison due to the lack of medical care. And I'm in the place where I want to discuss possible ways that we can present the idea about violent offenders, because there's a difference with violent offenders, and with all of that being stated between the violent and nonviolent offenders and the different statistics about it, as was brought up earlier on in this talk that we're having, the rate of nonviolent offenders seem to be relatively high. So I wanted to kind of see what ideas the brothers have in regards to how we can present idea on the so-called violent offender, so that we can talk about release, which to me is really significant right now.
The violent offenders as opposed to the non-violent offenders argument is New Jersey hails themselves as the leader in comprehensive criminal justice reform throughout the entire country. And they've made great strides under this governor. However, you can't say that you're progressive and still hold on to old paradigms. You're still holding on to the mass incarceration rhetoric that took place in the 1990s, ironically under presidential candidate Joe Biden. All this mass incarceration, super predator talk, same talk that they're utilizing to say that the violent offenders are the ones who need to stay here. And the violent offenders, the ones who've done 20, 30 years, the statistics, the studies, and the data show that these are the people who are least likely to recidivate. The individuals that you're letting out, and I want them to get out as well, but when you're letting out these non-violent offenders, you're letting out the guys who haven't done any time, 2, 3, 4 years, and they haven't gotten out of the mindset of criminal commerce. The guys who are here, the violent offenders that they're talking about, are the same guys who have been home for the last 10, 5, 2, 3 years, and all have gotten great jobs, careers going, have bought houses, have gotten married, and are stellar citizens and taxpayers. So, just use your own study, use your own data, use the information that's already readily available, and they have to get out of that mindset of this old paradigm. You can't be both. You can't be progressive and say, well, we want to help everybody, but we don't want to help these guys. It's being discriminatory.
Right. Yes, they are.
And there's so many examples out there of guys, like the Vice President here, Mr. Henshaw, guys who have done significant time and were incarcerated for violent crimes, who are home advocates, who have associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, going out getting master's degrees, have vocational training. There's a way of vetting. I'm not saying let the doors open. There are monsters in here. Don't mistake that. There are some guys who may not be released, but you can establish a vetting process so you can determine which guys should be able to be released and which guys you want to hold on to. But you can't use the old paradigm of this violent crime versus non-violent crime. That's an antiquated way of thinking, and we got to dispel with it. We got to move forward if we're going to be progressive.
Any more questions?
Kiana.
I actually have a question, but I can't find the friggin' hand in anything. So can I speak, please?
Go ahead.
My name is Stephanie, and my son is currently incarcerated in Monmouth County Correctional Jail in obviously Monmouth County in Freehold, New Jersey. I live in northern Bergen County, and I work for the state of New Jersey as a case manager for Child Protective Services, which most people would know as DICES. And I have just been listening with a broken heart. This isn't even about my son. This is about the dehumanizing of certain cultures, which we all know. And when you were asking about like 3 things to do, I think the major thing, and I would like to spearhead anything that Gail or Mr. McGreevy for true rehabilitation. My son has told me horrific things. He's only been incarcerated for 15 months. That when 2 or 3 different inmates had committed suicide, they threw the bodies, the guards just threw the bodies into the day room for the prisoner, the other inmates to look at. Forget the level of quality of food. He's not dead yet, but my heart is broken. This has opened up a whole new world for me. And being that I am not just, being that I'm just not a social worker.
I'm sorry. I think the former Governor McGreevy is doing with his vocational training and rehabilitation reentry program is spectacular. And it was necessary to help guys acclimate, reintegrate themselves back into society.
Absolutely, but we need...
With the Women Who Never Gave Up organization are trying to address these issues. I think one of their right now is these signatures.
Right, and I am new to this, but with everything that I have read, this disease, this pandemic, I believe has been brought to us for massive change. And I cannot sit back and watch a person incarcerated for 30 years, did their time, and then turned around and was told you have to stay here another 36 months. He's got master's degrees. He's done every freaking program. I truly, honestly believe as a human race in the year 2020, as you're saying, sir, we have to get rid of the old paradigms. And I think New Jersey is as good as any state to start this. We cannot lock human potential away because they made a mistake.
Is get active. You know, we can't talk and commiserate about the situation, but we've been doing this for far too long. Getting these signatures, these 2,000 plus signatures to present to the governor.
We did signatures, yes.
We're working on all that. Hey, just real quick, that Kiana Scott has been waiting for a long time. Can she ask a quick question? I'm sorry, Kiana.
Okay, hi. How you doing? My dad is in East Jersey State Prison. He's been in East Jersey State Prison for 30 years. He was one of the first callers. His name is Edward Cates. And my concern has been since this COVID-19 has been going on. I know he's up for parole soon. He's going through the process. My thing is, who I talk to, you know, because I'm sending out countless emails to politicians, Cory Booker, the mayor. I'm sending it to McGreevy. I'm sending it to everybody. Governor Murphy. I'm sorry, Mr. McGreevy. I'm sending it to Governor Murphy. I'm sending it to countless politicians. And, you know, I'm not getting any response. And just like the young man said, nobody's asking for them to bust open the doors of the prison and let people out, especially if it's a violent offender. You know, they're in there and they're all human. And that's my fight. My fight is, what's the precautions? What's the procedures? What's being done with these guys that's in there? How are they social distancing when they're going for their meals? And, you know, my dad is 65 years old, and to me, he's healthy. But just like the guy's saying, it's healthy men in there that's working out every day. And once they're getting this disease, they're dying. So that's my issue. And just like I've been fighting this fight with him since he's been inside the correctional facility for 30 years, I'm going to continue to fight until my dad is home. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. But my concern is, what's the process that we go through when somebody is so close to being home and to catch COVID-19 and die from this disease? We'll never be able to get to put our hands on him if he catches this disease. You know, I spent 30 years waiting for my father to come home just to hug him and kiss him. Now COVID is going on, and I'm very scared that it's a possibility that may not happen. You know, I pray to God to protect him and cover him. They can only do but so much. I was a correction officer before, so I know. You know, I know how it goes when it goes to cleaning. They're not giving those inmates cleaning products to use. They're not giving these inmates gloves. They're not giving these inmates masks. Let's say if one of the correction officers don't like the inmates. You think the correction officer that don't like an inmate is going to give an inmate some type of protection to protect himself in there when he felt like he disrespected him the day before? You know, so that's my issue. I just want to know what's going on to help these prisoners. That's it. My thing is, what's going on to help these prisoners?
Well, we are here. There's, at one time there was 45 faces on these screens. So we are here. We are together. We must leave here with some kind of ask. And the ask is call, contact everyone, and make sure that this does not just become one speaking session, that this becomes a movement. That's what I think has to happen. And Tone, I'll let you close us out because we're almost out of my 2 hours.
Okay. I'm trying to find it. Here's what you can do, especially for your father. And you look just like your father, so you are your father's child.
Thank you.
I'm very good friends with your father. He pretty much was like a prison father to me with Mr. Jerome Perkins. They really raised me because I was wild and rambunctious. But what I'm going to do, because your father does have pre-existing conditions, what I want you to do and everybody. This is if you have a loved one that's in a situation, as Mr. Edward Cates is, you can call this toll-free hotline with the Public Defender's Office. The number is 833-947-2127. And you can email at the defenders at opd.nj.gov.
Okay, repeat the last after O, the email.
opd.nj.gov.
Okay, got it.
Right? Now,
Can you
in that
repeat the phone
situation,
number, please?
the phone number is 833-947-2127.
Thank you.
So you
Mr.
call
Bottom
them.
of that sign, sir?
Huh?
Someone's sending you a message. Hunter Williams is sending you a message.
I can't see it because I'm on my phone and I'm not on a computer. So, anybody that has,
I'm sorry, where's his number 2?
that's to the Public Defender's Hotline for what she just asked, for people that have underlying conditions and have an opportunity to be released. Your father, they can file a motion right now on your father's behalf and potentially get him out to where he doesn't have to worry about the parole process.
Excellent. Excellent.
So there's things that we can do because he's within a year or a few months, which I know your father's within a few months because he just started the parole process of being released anyway. So a motion could be done on his behalf to say this no longer serves the interests of justice and that he has a pre-existing underlying condition that can potentially kill him. Can you do something to at least alter the sentence or change of custody? There's 2 avenues for your father because he's almost satisfied the statutory mandatory minimum.
Unfortunately, I'm out of time, so we're going to have to close this. I really wish we had more. I should have put down 2.5 hours, but I only put down 2, and it's right at the end of the time. So I really want to thank everybody for connecting. I put in the chat box. I put my name and my phone number, and if you call that, it'll ring on my phone, and I do answer my phone. And if I don't, I will get back to you. Just leave me a message. I thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, Ron.
Have a great day.
Thank you,
and
Ron.
we will
God
continue.
bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be safe.